like maps? How about a detailed hand-drawn map that reflects your favorite people, places, and things? Visit Cartograph Me on Instagram or Facebook and see the possibilities and the works of artist Philip Bailey. Remember, Cartograph Me, putting you on the map.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
From the prime time, bitch!
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds. Welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Konnichiwa, it's Xylia.
This is the weird old-fashioned phone that's strangling your friend from school, Mike.
And we are back. This is the beginning of us picking picks for each other. So this was my pick, and I'm picking something that Xylia I thought would like or would pick, and then we kind of mix it around like that. But before we get into all that, how is everyone? Everyone's well. You survived Halloween, hopefully.
Yep.
Barely.
Little bit of a candy overload. I know we got kids this year. That was exciting.
Yeah, it's like our first year where people trick-or-treat where we live.
Yeah, I mean, sadly for them, most of the candy was ate by Xylia. So
after the fact.
And before the fact.
I had a guy come up, he had like a little son, and we had a Michael Myers like sticker in our window, and he was like, hey, I like your Michael Myers sticker, and I was like, thanks. And then he proceeded to lift up his pant leg and show me his tattoo, which I forget what it was now, but I told you about it.
Yeah, you did.
I assume it had something to do with Michael Myers.
No, it was like one of the other like big horror people. I can't quite remember who it was though for some reason, but yeah, so he was really and then I told him Rowan had the It one. It's like it was a real great Halloween conversation as his little son was trick-or-treating.
Good times. How by all? How about you, Mike? Any eventfulness for your Halloween?
No, I don't usually I'm usually either working on Halloween, or if I'm not, I haven't for years really gotten much in the way of trick-or-treaters, except for maybe like kids that I know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like specifically coming over. Yeah, so this year I just assumed that A, I was going to be working on Halloween, and then B, nobody would be trick-or-treating because of COVID. But apparently that was not the case. So it turns out then that the day before Halloween, pretty much everywhere in the city was sold out of candy because I don't think they stocked as much because of COVID. So I got really paranoid then. Turns out I was off on Halloween. So all Halloween night, I was watching horror movies, but I turned the volume down, and I had to turn off all the lights in my apartment.
Hide.
And I shuttered the place. I kept the door light off. I closed all the blinds because I couldn't have anybody come to the door because I had nothing to give them.
That's okay, because I'm assuming Newfoundland was probably pretty similar since we're all in the bubble together, but in Nova Scotia, like, we went to a Halloween, like, get-together. It was only a few people. And on the way there, like, we noticed that not very many people had their lights or anything on, or pumpkins lit, or anything like that. And the government had put out guidelines that said, like, if you don't want people to come to your house, just, like, don't have your light on or, like, decorate or anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it was like, I think it was like a really like accepted thing this year to not be handing out candy. I was just gonna say the get together we went to at our friends Crystal and Dakota's, and we played What Do You Meme, and then Dakota, they like bought a house last year, and Dakota now has his basement set up all like horror themed, so that was pretty cool. And
fun.
Crystal made this delicious dip and these delicious, like wonton jalapeno poppers. They were really good.
I am actually salivating.
They were really good.
I will say that as Mike told his story, all I could think about was the old guy from like the Trick or Treat movie. That's how I envisioned you. Where like kids knock on his door and he's just like drunk and he's like, "Go away!" And then Sam.
I mean, you're not that far off.
What movies did you watch?
I actually watched the Rob Zombie Halloween 2.
Nice.
And oh my god, what else did I watch? I'm like drawing a blank right now. Anyway, I know I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 because it fucked me up. Because I haven't watched it in a while, and, friends of ours online were having chats about it over the couple days leading up to Halloween, so that sort of made me think, I want to go and rewatch this, because I got that, lovely box set, and it really fucked me up, because I was also in a weird mental space. I was a little bit depressed, and it was probably not the best movie to watch, and it kind of upset me, and I had weird dreams that night, but anyway.
Yeah, we watched the 2018 Halloween, and Mike and I were texting back and forth about it.
And by watch, she means we didn't finish it because Xylia gave up.
I mean, I fell asleep. If by giving up,
she fell asleep.
You mean falling asleep?
Gave up in life.
Yeah. Do you hear now? Rowan should be part of the fucking shade brigade. Do you hear this goddamn shade he's throwing at me the whole episode so far?
You must be so cold.
Me?
I meant you're cold in the shade.
Oh. Okay. I did not get that.
We didn't expect you to.
Oh.
Burn.
I just felt left out all these episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta become part of the gang.
That's okay. You have to pronounce a lot of Japanese names this episode, so I'm sure you'll be back.
Spoiler alert. I'm going to attempt one Japanese name. That's it. So to start off with, before we get into the quizzes, we will announce what movie we're doing. So I picked House to do for Xylia from 1977. So we'll use that as some context. We did 2 quizzes. One I picked up from BuzzFeed, and then a little impromptu one Xylia's having us do. We'll start with the BuzzFeed one. I felt it was only appropriate we decide what kind of cat are we. Mike, why don't you start with your results?
I would love to start. I got a Scottish Fold, which is a weird little charcoal gray cat by the looks of it. It kind of looks like Salem from the 90s Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And the description of it just says right at the beginning, "Are you a dog?" Basically, you are cheerful and love having a good time and outgoing. I'm like, you know what? If it's asking me if I'm a dog, that's the type of cat I am. I'm actually a dog.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm happy with that. It's not aesthetically the prettiest cat, but we can't all be gorgeous. Can't all be models.
Xylia, how about yourself?
So I basically got our cat Church. Literally, the picture kind of looks like him. I think it's a Maine Coon, and I got fat in stars indoor cat. And it says, all right, so this isn't a comment on your specific body type as much as a mindset. And then brackets says your bod is hot. And then it says, you have made it in life and kind of have a more laissez-faire attitude, which can be refreshing in a high-stress world. Sometimes people ask, are you stoned? To which you respond, I'm just enjoying life, man. Cheers to that.
Wow, that was actually they read you. That's kind of sick.
Who knew the BuzzFeed quiz would just know you so well?
It was so spot on.
They always do.
Yeah. I'm not gonna read mine because I also got fat indoor cat. Me and Xylia are just living that fat indoor cat lifestyle, I guess.
You guys are the twins this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'll take it. It does look like our cat, so I'm okay with that. So next is our impromptu quiz. Xylia, take it away.
So because the girls in this movie are very their name is the description of who they are, I thought there's not a quiz for that, but I thought we could say what one we think we are.
I like that.
Rowan, you never go first.
I think in, spirit of what kind of cat I am, I'm definitely going to go with Mac. I appreciate that she gets to this house, she just wants to eat. That's essentially me when I go anywhere. It's like, do these guys have food and are they going to give it to me? I'm definitely going to go with Mac.
Mike, what about you?
I am also a big fan of just eating and eating and eating and eating. So I am largely Mac, but I'm also very much fantasy. Because I'm sort of like maybe perceived as hysterical when I think that I'm actually just being perceptive.
I would say that I'm also, so I have two. I'm Mac mixed with Prof, I think.
Because you like to eat and you're a nerd.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's the glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the glasses.
I can see that. Those are very two of your personalities.
Yeah.
You're very astute.
And I like to eat.
Astute with a healthy appetite.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into the trailer and bio, and then we're going to be back. I think Mike has some keywords for us after. So like I said, we are doing House 1977. Let's get into the trailer.
House.
私あなたを救えなかった I see in your eyes where tomorrow is hiding in my heart. There's a bell ringing loud at the touch of your lips. Down the rainbow, I'm sliding. Little arrows keep falling as thick as a cloud. 眩しくて怖いのよ。日の光が。かからないわ。故障よ。
Okay, so that was the trailer.
Whoa, that was wild.
Xylia sassiness.
It was wet and wild, you might even say.
Ooh. So we'll get to the IMDb bio. It is a schoolgirl and 6 of her classmates travel to her aunt's country home, which turns out to be haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty to the point. Mike, what do we got for your amazing keywords?
There were a couple of interesting ones, obviously, because this is an incredibly interesting movie. We've had a few, like, I mean, some of it is actually, like, relevant, like psychotronic film, experimental film, playing piano even, I can see, things like that. There was actually a really good one that I thought, you know, spoiler alert, it says everyone dies. But, you know, that's this type of thing, like, if you're looking for, you know, that sort of film, like, if you're writing a piece on movies where, you know, the cast gets wiped out or whatever, like, that could be, but, you know, then, of course, you get into ones that are a little bit more, it's like, stepdaughter murders stepmother. First of all, that doesn't actually happen. It's implied, but it doesn't actually happen. Then we get into ones that are, of course, very relevant and will bring up, you know, I'm sure dozens of results, like, eaten by a piano. Swallowed by bed sheets, which, by the way, actually probably could have more than one entry, because technically you could say that that's what happens to Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street.
This is also
He does
true.
kind of get swallowed by bed sheets. Bitten by a disembodied head. Like,
in
honestly,
the butt.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I wish it does not say, like, buttock bite. It should. I wish it did. But...
I was going to say, it'd be really awkward if the keyword tag was just in the butt.
In the butt. Yeah, and, you know, you've got, like, weird roundhouse kick. I'm like, that's interesting. That's kind of cool. I just want to find movies with a roundhouse kick. Partial nudity. You know, okay. Like, girl... Coming of age, what part of this movie has anything to do with coming of age? Just tell me. I need to know. How is this a coming of age movie? None of them are coming of age.
No.
Like, just because they're teenagers...
Yeah, just because they're young.
...does not mean that it's coming of age.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just can't do that. breasts, banana. Like, there's not even a banana in it. He says banana like 5 times, then has a freak out, and
Yeah,
there's no banana.
Yeah, there is. When they, at the very end, when they go back and he is a pile of bananas with his hat on top.
Oh, I forgot about that. So that's it. Teacher, floating eyeball, watermelon, like the usual. Eyeglasses. Okay.
Floating eyeball, yeah, the usual.
Just your everyday average movie.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about is this our first experiences with it? Our first time seeing just this pretty average, normal movie?
Rowan was like, do you think in Japan this is just a normal movie?
I will say that
I don't think so.
I was just like, yeah, I was like, this movie is bizarre, but I wonder if it's like you Westerners just don't get it. This is our everyday dramas. I'll start. This isn't my first time seeing this movie. I've seen this movie a couple times. The first time I ever saw it, shout out to our wonderful friends Trevor and Willow.
Oh yeah, because people in England don't know who Trevor and Willow are.
They showed this to me one time, and I thank them for it every day. This was not my first time watching it. I will say it was my first time watching it while I did mushrooms, which may or may not have been one of the best decisions of my life.
I was gonna say, you complete dumbass. That sounds like an awful idea, but
that's
right.
There we go. Xylia, how about you?
I have seen it one other time. So I saw it in September, I think it was. And then I saw it last night.
Perfect. Mike?
I had always wanted to see it. Like, it's been on my list for years. And for whatever reason, I just never got a chance to see it. Like, it was always one of those that I put on the plate, like, let's watch this on the weekend or whatever with somebody, and we would just end up with something else. And then sometimes I would want to watch it, but, I knew I was not in the right place for it.
Yeah.
So I finally, got to watch it to prep for this, and it was my first time I'd seen clips from it and stuff, and videos online and stuff over the years, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to see it. But this is my first time sitting down and fully watching it, so that was an experience.
That is very exciting. I wish I was reliving my first time watching this. Well, let's get right into the review. We know where we're
Wait, hold on, the Bechdel test.
Oh, the Bechdel test. Xylia, why don't you explain the Bechdel test for any new listeners or those that may not know?
Okay, so I've started doing the Bechdel test for every movie we do, and basically it's, are there two women in a scene talking about something other than a man, and then also are they named? I mean, this movie obviously passed the Bechdel test with flying colors. There's 3 men in it for maybe 3 minutes each.
Yeah.
And they're all useless.
Yeah.
I guess before we get too far in it, I didn't say the movie was directed by, and put your sound effect here, your little intro to Rowan brutally murders people's names. It's directed by Nobuhiko Hiko Obayashi, and I don't really know much about him. I know he's a very prominent director.
I looked him up.
Yeah.
So he basically started before he was doing movies. He was really famous for doing commercials in Japan, and basically he was part of this experimental film collective, and so he did all these commercials. I watched a couple of them, and they're kind of like this movie. And then
I was gonna say, now that you say he did commercials, I could see that in the film, because there's a lot of things that look like commercials.
Yeah. Well, and if you go on YouTube, you can watch, he has a couple short films. One's called Emotion, and then another one's something about the girl who escaped time or stole time or something. I can't quite remember. But he's incredibly he's passed away now, but he was incredibly well respected in Japan and considered like a paramount experimental filmmaker.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm not, just because I looked at the filmographies of, like, all the actresses
And Rowan doesn't want to say their name.
and stuff. I don't want to brutalize their names, and B, like, pretty much all of them, like, have only been in, like,
this
movie or, like, other Japanese stuff that, like, I have no idea what it is, so it would just be me emptily talking about
There'd be no
that.
passion about
No
it.
passion in it. Alright, so, we're gonna start off with what we always start off with, and I think I'm excited to hear everyone's opinion. Favorite scene / favorite kill. Xylia, you go first.
My favorite scene's any scene with Blanche in it. And my favorite kill is... I'm pretty sure my favorite kill is the piano one.
The
with
piano
melody.
one is great.
Yeah, it's yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I do really love the piano one. How about yourself, Mike?
I guess probably one of my favorite scenes / well, it's not a kill. Although in a way it is, because you don't actually see the kill, is, when Fantasy goes outside and pulls up the head out of the well. I actually thought that was kind of terrifying, and I wasn't exactly expecting it. I don't know why. And, like, even though it was kind of like the cheesy effects and stuff, I actually found it kind of a frightening scene and upsetting. And, like, the bum bite was really funny,
Yeah.
but then, there was, like, the vomit and stuff, and there was something about that scene, like, it was already over the top at that point, so it was not, but, like, I don't know, it was like that moment that it kicked in.
It really gave, that scene, it really, for some reason, gave me, like, Evil Dead vibes.
It really did, and like Evil Dead, it has that funniness, but it's also, like, kind of terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Legitimately. And I feel like that was probably an influence on Evil Dead. But,
yeah, I can see that.
I love
I really love that scene. It kind of, like, shook me.
Oh, geez. Favorite kill. This is a hard one. I'm probably gonna have to say the piano one. I really do love the piano one. I'll do a cheat like Xylia and I'll pick two.
You said favorite scene and favorite kill.
Yeah, I have another favorite kill, though.
Oh, okay.
I do love, kind of when, I don't know if you necessarily call it get killed, but, like, the aunt takes over, like, Gorgeous, where her, like, face falls apart, and then she's just on fire, but it's, like, only her face, and it's, like, really, really, like, I really love some of the special effect work in this.
I think that's the thing I love is, like, the special effects in the from the 70s, because it's like they had to do that themselves. It wasn't like CGI or anything.
Yeah, and by today's standards, it looks absolutely terrible.
Or absolutely amazing.
But it did give it, like, a real aesthetic.
The movie would be really boring if it wasn't for the visual aspect, I think.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say, I also love to see, like, all the scenes that had, like, really, I mean, this was 77, so rightfully so, but, like, the terrible green screening, where, like, you could tell what were, like, props in front of green screen, and they didn't really know how to, like, blend it.
At the beginning, when, like, Gorgeous's dad introduces her to his new wife, that whole patio area is just like terrible.
Loved it. I loved it.
And it had, like,
clearly, like, old 60s soap opera, like, painted backdrop,
Yeah. It's like seagull, like, background track, and, like, oh my god. But I think it's like how we talked about when we did the Evil Dead. It's like the low budgetness of it made the movie.
Yeah, 100%. I was gonna say, too, that whole porch scene or deck scene towards the beginning when
is creepy.
Gorgeous meets who's gonna be her new mom, I guess, is probably my favorite scene. Not kill, but my favorite scene. Just because, it was so creepy. Like, she, like, jumps in her dad's arms, even though she's, like, a full-grown teenager. And he's just, like...
They have a weird relationship.
Yeah, very weird relationship. Also one of those things where, like, she probably was, like, like 20-something when she did this. So it's like, they were probably not that far apart in age. So just was this weird vibe. And then I also love how she was just like, fuck this woman.
Her dad seemed really sleazy, like even his outfit and stuff.
Oh, super sleaze. I do want to say, I'm curious how everyone would feel that you get a letter from your nephew once.
Aunt. I mean, from your niece.
From your niece once. And all the letter says is, I'm coming to stay at your house, and I'm basically bringing my entire school to your house.
For the summer.
For the summer.
I've only met you once.
I was like that. I'm glad the aunt fucking killed them all.
I pretend that they had the wrong address. I just wouldn't write back.
Yeah, very, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Just very straightforward. Yeah. Presumptuous.
Oh, very presumptuous. Entitled, like, Dear Auntie, you have a mansion. I am going to avail of it.
Yeah.
Also, I like how there's, like, no questions about Blanche just, like, showing up where they live.
I know, and they're just like, hey, it's Blanche.
Yeah. And it's like, and then when they get...
She was on the train.
No, but she was there before.
She was at Gorgeous's, like, place before they left.
And then they brought her.
And then they brought her to her aunt's, but then it's just established that, like, the aunt's like, oh yeah, that's my cat. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, when she's like in the wheelchair when they get there, and literally like Blanche comes flying from the fucking like outside the frame onto her lap, and I was like, did someone in the crew just like literally throw this cat onto...
They're like, shit, the fucking cat.
Quick, get that cat in the frame.
That's what it looks like.
I mean, and also, you know, there's gonna be a lot of Blanche talk, because Blanche is the star of the show. Every scene with Blanche is amazing.
And we started calling Church Blanche, and we made up this like whole backstory about how Blanche is Blanche and Maud, because our other cat's named Maud, and it's like the perfect duo name. And we were talking about how like we take
it's such like an old lady Golden Girls couple.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like Blanche's church, and he's like smokes like 6 packs of cigarettes a day, and we take him to the vet, and then he's just like, hey, no, you do the voice better. It's like, gotta put my smoke out. Like, I'll be in a minute.
I'm Blanche.
Yeah, we can't be like, I'm Blanche, because Church was sitting on the table staring at the movie, and Church is fucking huge. And he'd just be like, Large Marge that works at a cafeteria.
Large Marge.
Large Marge. That's a blast from the past.
That's
Deep
right.
cut.
Okay, so I also love how Mr. Togo is supposed to be this heartthrob. And who's the one that's obsessed with him? Is
Fantasy.
it Fantasy? I was gonna say. Yeah. And they're supposed to like go to his sister's like house or something for the whole summer. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a heartthrob, even in the 1970s.
I didn't really get the story anyway, because I didn't understand.
Why was he coming to her house?
I didn't understand why he was going to the aunt's house.
No, it's kind of weird. And who is Mr. Togo anyway? And why is this grown-ass man coming to stay with young girls at her aunt's
He's
house?
a teacher at the school.
Okay, that seems like even worse. That's
it is
like
still a bit, I don't know, there's something
boundaries
about it that didn't sit right with me. I assumed, and you know, I'm like, the men were useless. I assumed it was like, he was put in there as a like failure of the patriarchy. Like they were setting him up like he was going to be the knight in shining armor, and it's like, nah, he's literally nothing.
He literally just turns into a pile of bananas with a hat on it.
He was just useless the whole movie. Which, I mean, I guess I get his function, because a big thing about this film is that he was made, like, this film was supposed to be like a feminist film, which I would love to have a discussion about, you know, I was saying to Xylia last night that this definitely isn't the first movie that we've done that's been like a feminist film, but it's like created by a male.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and like how do we feel about that, and your opinions on that? Does it work as a feminist film?
I mean, I think it's interesting. That's why they're like kind of typecasted, and it's kind of, I interpret it as like a parody almost.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's not like on surface, obviously it's like, oh, they're being reduced.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it's more satirical and parodic than anything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like this girl's gorgeous, and like that's the one thing about her. This girl's melody, and she's like obsessed with playing the piano, and that's like all you really know about her. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, it is certainly always problematic, I think, when the results can be problematic when men try to write a feminist film, I think. But I guess at the same time, like, men can be feminists as well, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about it.
Are you trying to come from a position of like authority or whatever on
yeah.
it? Like, is the intent to make a feminist film or a film that ends up being feminist? Like, to me, that's a fine difference.
Yes, definitely.
Like, if you're just setting out to make a film and you are a feminist and you have like a feminist sort of like, framework,
yeah,
then whatever you do, that should be included as an element in it, just sort of by design.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be sort of like an explicitly like didactic type of thing, but I think when it is like that, and when they're trying to like, here's a message,
yeah,
that's when it can be a little bit more thorny, because it's like, okay, but you could easily have, had your place taken over by an actual woman that could be making this feminist statement,
Yeah.
So, like, I totally get it. I'm not saying, obviously, I'm not discounting any feminist movie ever made by a man, because that would be ludicrous. But, like you said, I think that's an interesting acknowledgement that there is kind of a fine line between the way you look at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good distinction, because I think a lot of the times if it's like, I'm a man and I'm like setting out to make this super feminist film, it is like, Rowan and I kind of had like a very brief conversation about this last night, and like there's a Portlandia episode where there's like these male feminists and they're like, we're gonna solve feminism, and like I think that comes out when it's a man that's like very much like, I'm gonna make this feminist film. I think it's very much just like, I'm gonna solve feminism.
Yeah, it has a similar problem as like white saviorism, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's where it becomes a lot more problematic. But yes, definitely if it's just like, it's a man and he's a feminist. Now I don't know if this director considered himself a feminist, but and then that's just like a byproduct of his vision, I guess, then like, yeah. I think that's less problematic.
Yes, exactly. And that's it. Is it a byproduct or is it the product?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say too, that I guess I'm not clear on it anyway. Like, I know, when you read about it, it's talked about as a feminist film, but we don't know necessarily, like we said, if it was made with that intention, or if that's kind of a projection that we're putting on it, saying, hey, this is a feminist film. And, he very well may have not had that initial intent on doing it. I did want to also say, like, I loved, which I usually love anytime any movie uses this, but especially horror, like, I love the color palette of it, where, like, everything's pretty, like, bright. Like, I like the contrast, and it's really kind of got this, like, cheesy 70s, like, happy vibe to it.
Like when they're walking across that bridge.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of get the reintroduction to who the characters are 25 minutes into it, with their names on the screen. But I just love the color of it. Like, I love horror movies that aren't afraid to kind of go light, kind of that happy vibe. I know when we watched it last night, we kind of discussed too that I said, to me, it really gave off like a Scooby-Doo vibe, the whole thing, where like the music, I really think it's kind of the music and almost the silliness of the horror. It just had that kind of haunted house whodunit Scooby-Doo vibe. It's like silly, but you're still getting these images of horror and ghosts and
but
dancing
as if they're being,
skeletons.
Constructed and put off by like, an evil, director of a company who wants to scare people away, right? Like it's
and
like in Scooby-Doo.
You're not the first person to say that either. Had read that people also kind of thought it was Scooby-Doo-ish as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like, it really has going for it, because it's not, to me, this is something that kind of, like, I think anyone could really enjoy. Like, I mean, I guess I could see maybe, like, parents kind of being like, oh, and the nudity if you're a prude, but,
I mean, there's a boob.
Yeah, I think there's a couple.
They're
boobs.
called boobs, Ed.
But, like, it's fun. Like, it's kind of a fun haunted house vibe. And I think really, like, I almost view this as a comedy over a horror.
Well, we rented it on Apple TV or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was listed on there. It came up as comedy.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, because it definitely is, it's funny. And I mean, I would say the way he made it, he intended it to be, like, funny and weird.
Oh yeah, the cutaways with Mr. What's-His-Face were all very clearly, like, their only function was comedy, except for when he actually gets there.
Same with the guy that, like, sold the watermelons on the side of the road.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which was a great scene. I love, like, in the background, the watermelon just has a mouth, and the watermelon was just, like, laughing and stuff, and, like, just very bizarre, like, surreal things going on in the background.
That kind of, like, reminds me, because that scene, they're, like, calling Mac fat and stuff, and it's really interesting. So, Japan's, like, the #1 place that I want to travel when COVID's over, and so sometimes I watch, like, random shit on YouTube about Japan, and there was this girl who would go on the street and, like, ask them questions that are related to, like, their culture compared to, like, the West, and they were asking about ideal body type, and they were talking about how, like, the ideal body type in, like, North America basically is, like, a Kim Kardashian-esque, like, quote-unquote thick, like, frame, and what they thought about that. And, I mean, it's kind of obvious when you look at Japanese women, but they were all just, like, the skinnier the skinniest you can possibly be is basically, like, their beauty standards.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because when you look at Mac, she's, like, actually, like, a fairly small girl in comparison to, like, North American standards, I would say. But for them, like, I just thought that's interesting, like, the two different cultures.
Yeah, it definitely, like, yeah, just very interesting on how we view, like, weight and... I
think I want to, like, start watching more Japanese horror movies, because I don't know, when I think of a culture that's, like, incredibly opposite to ours, that's what I think of Japan. But I think knowing more about the cultural aspect would bring more to this movie, like, understanding to this movie.
So there you go, listeners. Now Xylia's only going to pick Japanese horror.
No, I'm not going to only pick Japanese horror. Well, during my first degree, my minor was cultural anthropology, and I basically had this professor who was this, like, super fucking tall, pale redhead woman, and her whole thing was she would go to Japan and do, like, ethnographies. And so I, like, had taken intro to anthropology or something with her, and I loved her. So I ended up taking, like, all the classes she offered, and most of them were about Japanese culture. So I did learn a lot through that, but that was also, like, 15 years ago. Sorry, I'm, like, kind of jumping around here, but I had read, and I just brought it up because I kind of had forgot that they said this, but it said that the film, the concepts for the scenarios and the fears that were shown actually came from the imagination of an 8-year-old Japanese girl.
Oh, really?
And because the director, like, the studio didn't put any restraints on, like, what the director could do, that's, like, the combination of just him being free to do whatever and her imagination, like, that's what, like, came up with this movie. But it makes sense because kids are so imaginative.
Yeah, that's actually, like, super, super interesting.
Yeah, so there you go. The concepts did come from a girl.
So, I've been corrected. Maybe really a feminist film.
Maybe.
From the youngest of feminists.
Can I also jump to your visual part?
Yeah.
Only because it reminds me of the music. Because when we were watching it, I was like, this sounds like... Well, there was one part I was like, this sounds like Japanese psychedelic rock. And then their other one was like Japanese version of the Beatles, and then there's another one's like Japanese version of David Bowie, and I just thought it was really interesting to hear like kind of this twist. Like the last song, I can't remember what David Bowie song it reminds me of, but it literally sounds like the David Bowie song like made into a Japanese song.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting with the songs because, like, you know, I don't know if it was just kind of random, if there was, like, some sort of artistic choice, because, like, some of the songs were in Japanese, and then some of the songs were in English.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
It does kind of make sense, though.
I mean, I think, to me, I feel when I watch it that he was definitely, as a director, aware of, like, a North American audience.
But also in Japan, like, everybody knows English.
Yeah.
They won't, like, most of them won't speak it to people who are, like, English as a first language people, because I have this friend, Mihoko, she's from Tokyo, and when I was in university again the first time, she came, I was a what's it called? Housekeeping, housekeeping, house cleaner at a hotel, and she got a job there, and we became friends, and she was like super fluent in English, had no problem speaking it, but was really embarrassed speaking it in front of me, and would always be like, oh, I'm not very good at it, oh, like I don't remember the term for it. And she does that still when we talk like on the internet, because she moved back to Japan, and it's like you're literally like better at English than people I know that's their first language, but they're just get so embarrassed.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be. I know lots of people can barely speak English.
Like me, half the time.
Yeah, that's right. Like me. Are we willing to talk about Is It Scary now?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with you, Mike. What did you think? Is it scary?
Honestly, I actually thought it was kind of scary. Like, I know that I am going to be seeing shit from this in my dreams tonight. I know it. I think that the way it's lit and that creepy, sort of decayed Great Expectations house was just really effective, and because it's so over the top and yet so like bizarre, and like there's nothing like any of the kills, there's just nothing like any of the images in this, I think, probably ever since that I've seen. So, and you know, like the decapitated head, like I keep thinking about that. Like that actually scared me, you know, and I keep thinking about it. There's so many sequences that I'm like putting myself there. And I think it was because weirdly, I found the acting to be kind of like weirdly natural. Like they were charming. I found all the girls to be very charming. And I think that like when they were disappearing and stuff, I actually like felt like, even though it was very cartoony and Scooby-Doo-ish, as we said, and surrealist, I still was like, I felt bad when they died. So to me, there was like stakes, which I made it a little bit more scary to me. So yeah, I actually found it a scary movie. That's why I love it so much. I'm gonna be telling everybody to watch this. But it really did. I found a lot of the images and moments to be very creepy and made my skin crawl. So yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everyone should definitely, like, check it out. I will definitely, I think the only release, like, on Blu-ray this has is on Criterion Collection, but, like, I will definitely be buying the Criterion Collection of it.
For sure. It's worth picking up 100%.
Yeah, because, like, this is definitely a movie, you know, that is worth a watch, I think. How about you, Xylia? Do you think it's scary?
I didn't think it was like, scary, but I definitely did think it was creepy, and it almost to me felt like this like psychedelic, over-the-top psychedelic nightmare.
Yeah, I think that's a good descriptor of it.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So I think there was, like Mike, it was definitely some like really creepy parts.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I didn't necessarily find it scary per se. I do, like I kind of talked about a little bit before, think that this would be a great kind of introduction into maybe like easing like a kid into like adult horror, because there is adult theme.
I think Rowan and I always talk about what our kids' first like horror movie will be, and we always said Suspiria, but I think it might have to be House now.
Yeah, it might have to be House. But like I think, like we said, because that Scooby-Doo vibe, and like it is funny, and like it's just kind of bizarre, like a kid show.
Yeah.
Like, I think this would be like a good intro into that, but I didn't overly find that it was, I wasn't scared, but
Our kid might be like fucked up for life.
yeah, my kid might
okay.
my kid might think that it's like on hallucinogenics or something. Are we comfortable going into rating this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's start with you, Xylia.
I give this like Slay of Infinity.
Slay of Infinity.
No, just Slay Infinity.
Oh.
I love this movie. I just think it's so over the top. The visuals are brilliant. The low budgetness is brilliant. I love that. I love the characters. I love that there's like, it's so like women centric. I love like the experience of me and Rowan watching it together. It was so funny. And yeah, I love this movie. Thank you for picking it for me. And Rowan bought me the shirt of House.
I did, just because I knew you were gonna love it so much. Mike, how about you?
Like Xylia, absolutely slay. Oh my god, like I literally, if it wasn't so late at night while we were recording this, and I wasn't absolutely got exhausted from only having slept 2 hours last night, I would probably watch it tonight.
Yeah.
Again. Because when I finished it, I was like, I could think of nothing but who am I going to show this to? I want to watch it again. I'm now like, I'm going to go online and like just find all sorts of stills and like make a mood board. And, I'm trying to find some GIFs to put on my phone that now I'm going to like make the like, girl eating piano is going to be like my response GIF online and stuff. And I just can't wait to talk to other like horror fans and just film fans in general about it. So it's total slay. I thought, I could see why like, maybe a lot of people watch it and think it's kind of corny and stupid, but it's actually, I think it's a masterpiece and is completely brilliant. And I think everything about it works. Like the acting works, the effects really work, the script works, the story works, like the music, the music, I'm literally like, I need to find, there has to be a special edition vinyl of this soundtrack. I want the score, the popular music songs, all of it. Like, it's just, everything about it is a slay, slay, slay. It gelled so well. There was not a minute in that movie. And this is to me, this is even movies that I absolutely love that are, like 2 hours long or whatever, and I've watched them 800 times. There are some times when I'll be watching it and going, I wish that I could skip ahead 5 minutes. There was not a moment in this viewing that I looked at my watch or how much time I had left. I was just completely glued to it and like fucking engrossed. And here's the thing. Usually, and the last few years when I wanted to watch this and it was on my radar and on my list, I wanted to make a night out of it where, again, had a few drinks, maybe like smoked a J, to kind of put yourself in that
like
kind of like mind fuck, in that headspace, exactly. I watched it just dead sober. And I was like, this is brilliant. I can only imagine somebody like just having a draw and watching this, or as you guys did mushrooms, and I can't get over that. But anyway, I like everything about it. Perfect slay, masterpiece. Yeah.
I never said I did mushrooms.
Okay, well, there was a viewing of one of you on hallucinogenic fungi. What about you, Ro?
I will give this a slay of infinity.
No, Slay of Infinity.
Slay of Infinity. I love this. Like I said, this is probably my third or fourth time watching it. I don't get bored of it. I could watch it all the time. It's super interesting. Yeah, it's just like really well done. You guys kind of hit everything on the head with like just the way it's filmed, the special effects. Like, the low budgetness of it makes it what it is. I just love everything, how over the top it is. Yeah, just slay, slay, slay. And like I said, I think, like, a whole family could enjoy this, because it's good, so that makes it even better. So, let's get into the budget game. For any new listeners, the budget game is where I know what the movie costs and what it made, and Xylia and Mike fight to the death to guess for no real prize other than pride
and your love
and my love. So let's start with what it cost. Mike, what do you think?
$2 million.
$2 million from Mike. How about you, Xylia?
$250,000.
$250,000. This is very contrasting. So the winner is no one, because I don't love either of you. I don't know how much it cost.
Did you not look it up?
No, there is no cost to it, but I do know how much it made.
Oh, okay.
So how about you take a stab at that? I will say I like the contrast in numbers for what it costs.
$3 million.
$3 million from Xylia. Mike.
$7.2 million.
So the actual price of what this made is $209,000. $765.
What?
That was the worst reading of numbers, people. Not only do I brutalize names, I brutalize numbers. So $209,765.
That's sad.
I would assume this probably got a pretty limited release, I'm thinking.
It's definitely had to make more money since. It's considered like a cult classic.
Yeah, there's just no numbers on that. That's kind of the box office numbers. I would suspect this probably only got released, like, in Japan.
Yeah, because actually on a website, it said that the Canadian release was, like, 2009 or something.
Yeah,
wow.
So I think this was just kind of like a found gem.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of blew up. So now we're going to get into our shameless promotions quickly. We'll start off with Spotify. If you need a creepy soundtrack to your life,
I'll definitely have to put some songs from this on there.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely.
Go to Spotify at the It Slays Podcast Horrific Playlist. We update it all the time and listen to some horror music. Also, follow us on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, at It Slays Podcast for everything. Feel free to write and say, hey, Xylia's always updating Instagram and trying to connect with the people. If you like what you hear and you want to support the show, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/itslayspodcast. A bunch of free stuff you can get there, from stickers and pins and shirts, and you get to pick a movie we review. Check that out. And if you do enjoy what you hear, go to iTunes, give us a star rating and a text rating, because we'll read your review on the episode. And last but not least, if you want to represent, you can go to Redbubble, look up It Slays Podcast. We have a store there. You can buy t-shirts, sweaters, shower curtains, baby onesies. You can buy everything with, our beautiful
I recommend a
faces on
tote
it.
bag.
That's right, a tote bag. Save the world.
We may have something coming up that involves one of our lovely listeners getting a tote bag.
That's right.
As well as a couple other things.
So keep an eye out for that in the future. So all we have left is to announce our next movie. I will give this to Xylia.
So my movie is a pick for Mike, and I decided to pick The Stuff.
Now, why did you decide? I want to know why you decided to pick The Stuff.
Well, so basically I looked up cheesy, I don't even know if I wrote cheesy, I just put like 1980s horror movies, and then I was like really channeling my inner Mike, and I was just thinking,
I love it.
What would Mike like? And I thought of The Stuff. I literally, Mike, I researched for like three straight days, and I narrowed it down.
You put that much effort into it for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So The Stuff, make sure you check it out, and I'm sure we will have up on Instagram before the episode. We're gonna ask everybody what you thought of House, so don't forget to leave us a comment when we do, so we can read it in that next episode. And I think that is everything for this episode. Thank you, as always, for listening. I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Xylia. It's Xylia.
See you next time, it's Mike.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
From the prime time, bitch!
Mom with the new fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.